And at this time, I'd like to change the presenter to Josh Nelson. And Josh, if you want to go ahead and take away the presentation.
Excellent. Thank you. And thank you guys for joining me on today's webinar. I'm real excited. We're going to be talking about how you can triple your sales by getting your internet marketing right. And I really want to emphasize getting your internet marketing right because you guys are Nexstar members. You're the cream of the crop. You all invest significantly in marketing. You're on the cutting edge. And let's face it, you've been doing internet marketing for quite some time. And so some of you are doing better than others. You're on this webinar because you want to figure out how you can maximize your lead flow, maximize your potential via the internet. I really feel like that comes down to getting your internet marketing right because there's a lot of different things to do, from pay-per-click advertising to SEO to local SEO to all of the different companies you can work with. And I really feel like it comes down to having the right strategy to maximize your results. And so that's what this presentation is all about. It's really about our experience working with hundreds of plumbing and HVAC companies throughout the country and internationally, and what we found to be successful. And I want you guys to feel confident that what I'm going to share is based on real-world case studies. So I'm going to share with you examples of other plumbing companies that have literally been able to triple and better their lead flow and their sales by implementing the strategies I'm going to be sharing with you. The other thing is I want you to know that this is a workshop style webinar. So as opposed to just sitting there and listening to me speak, I really want you to print out the worksheet that we sent prior to the webinar, and let's get our hands dirty. Let's really think about your business and how it sits today and look at the primary things that you need to change or you could change to generate better lead flow and better results online. So hopefully you guys will engage with me in this. You're going to get as much out of it as you put in. So print out the worksheet if you haven't already. We're going to get to that section in a couple minutes, and I'll give you another opportunity to download the worksheet. But that's all I ask is that you engage with me, kind of turn off your cell phone, mute anything in the background, and just focus on this because it has the potential to really have significant impact on your business. So, have you ever wondered what it would be like to have a dominant web presence that positioned you as the top plumbing or HVAC company in your area, have a flood of prospects calling into your business that found you online, and really know that you had the right strategy to maximize your lead flow online? So you didn't feel like you have to constantly reinvent the wheel and kind of question everything that you're doing. And that's what I really want to cover on today's presentation. I want to share a blueprint of the most important online marketing mediums that you should be tapping into. Again, there's so many different things from Angie's List to Yelp to pay-per-click. I want to really share with you the big picture, the main things you should be paying attention to. A pretty simple strategy for making sure that you're ranking on page 1 for the most important plumbing and HVAC related keywords in your area. A proven strategy for getting ranked on the map, right? That's one of the key places people are looking, getting ranked in the map sections. And how to leverage social media for more repeat and referral business. And of course, how you can get significantly more calls and more leads online. So just real quick, real brief, who am I and why should you listen? I'm the author of The Complete Guide to Internet Marketing for Plumbing Contractors and my new book, How to Triple Your Sales by Getting Your Internet Marketing Right. Both of those are available on Amazon.com. I'm a proud member of PHCC, QSC, Nexstar, Service Roundtable, ACCA, especially Nexstar. I'm so proud to be part of this group and to work with you guys as really, in my mind, the very best of the best in this industry. I've spoken at industry events across the country and internationally. My articles on internet marketing are published in Plumbing and Mechanical, Contractor Magazine, HVAC Insider. I'm widely accepted as the preeminent expert in internet marketing for plumbing and HVAC businesses. But really more importantly, I've had the opportunity to work with hundreds of plumbing and HVAC companies throughout the country and internationally, and have been able to work with them to go from virtually no placement online to the point where they now dominate the search engines in their area. And I have true proven case studies of companies that have seen $1 million plus in revenue growth. So what I'm going to share with you isn't based on something that I read or the fact that I'm reading the Moz blog. It's really based on the fact that I've worked with other companies just like yours, implemented these strategies, and seen them play out successfully in the real world. So I'm excited to share that with you on today's session. This is what we do as a company. I've got a quick shot of my team in South Florida, and we'll handle all of this for you. As a strategic partner, we'd be glad to get in and work on your website, your SEO, your pay-per-click management, help you, really implement a strategy that's going to increase your sales. But today's presentation is not a sales pitch. This isn't going to be me saying, here's what we'll do for you and here's how much it costs. I really want it to be workshop style, where whether we do business or not, you can sit through this session, you can get together with your team or with whoever you work with now and come up with a plan that can have a significant impact on your lead flow online. So let's dive right in and really start to talk about how to triple your sales by getting your internet marketing right. And as I mentioned at the beginning, I want this to be based on real-world examples and case studies. So I'm just going to talk briefly about a company in Falls Church, Virginia called The Plumbing Doctor. And The Plumbing Doctor is a second-generation business run by Dr. Bill and his daughter Tracy. And they've built their business over the years to about $1 million per year in revenue. So not a small company, but not a huge company either. And the way they grew the business over the years was by being the predominant advertiser in the Yellow Pages. So Dr. Bill had a full-page ad in the Yellow Pages in his markets, and that was more than enough to generate the calls and the leads to keep him and his team busy. However, at some point around early to mid-2000s, he noticed his lead flow drop off pretty noticeably. And he started to see a decline in the lead flow, and his revenues actually started to go backwards for the first time in the history of his company. And he got a little bit concerned because he said, man, what's going on? Where have my customers gone if I'm doing the same thing that I've always done, but now my lead flow is going backwards? And what he realized was there was a transition from the print media as the number one place to something different. And so his first quest was just to figure out where the customers had gone. And listen, I'm not telling you guys something you don't know. The majority of the population is going to Google, they're going to Yahoo, they're going to Bing, they're going to Yelp, they're going to Angie's List, and they're looking online when they need plumbing, HVAC, and electrical related services. And one statistic tells us more than 97% of customers that don't already have a plumbing or HVAC company that they work with, they're looking primarily online. And so that was a big aha for him. He realized, okay, the customers have moved online. I need to make sure that I've got the right online marketing strategy and I'm showing up where my customers are looking. And so he tried a couple of things. The first thing he tried was to let the Yellow Pages handle his internet marketing strategy. And this was logical because he had built his business in the Yellow Pages. He had a good relationship with the Yellow Page rep. So when the Yellow Page rep came in and said, hey, Dr. Bill, we'll get you online. We'll set up a website for you. He said, let's go for it. And so he hired them, and they built out a website for him, and they put him on yp.com. And it just wasn't nearly enough to replace the lead flow that he had gotten in the past from his printed Yellow Page advertising. And he kind of fell flat. And one of the issues with that strategy, first of all, the website that they set up for him was a templatized website that didn't have any unique personality. It didn't make somebody want to choose him versus the competition. But the second major issue with the strategy was it wasn't showing up in the places where people searched. So it wasn't showing up on Google. It wasn't showing up on Bing. It wasn't showing up in those search results. And so it was on yp.com, but it was missing the mark. So he had to kind of go back to the drawing board and say, okay, what do I need to do different? Where else can I go? And so the second thing he tried was he hired one of these large pay-per-click management companies. They came in with a really nice presentation, and they said, look, we're going to get you ranked on Google and Yahoo and Bing. And they had great tracking where they could show, look, you're going to see how many calls you got. You're going to hear recordings of the conversations. And it was very exciting. And he jumped in with that program with an aggressive pay-per-click marketing strategy. And this had a little bit of an impact. So he did start to see some calls. He did start to see an increase in lead flow, but it seemed like no matter how much he spent, whether it was $3,000 or $5,000 or even $10,000 per month, the amount that it generated was just only enough to cover the cost. So it wasn't enough to really replace the profitability of the heyday and the Yellow Page days. And part of the problem with this strategy was they came in, they put him in the paid listings, which was great, but there was two critical areas that were missing. First, the website was still very generic. It was still the one that the Yellow Pages built, didn't have any personality, didn't have any authenticity, and it didn't have the right conversion elements that made somebody want to choose him versus the competition. But the second issue, and maybe even the bigger issue, was that it wasn't showing up in organic search. It was only showing up in the paid listings. And so I know that you guys know this, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it. But really, when we run a search for your city plumber, your city plumbing, or HVAC or AC repair or electrician, there are really three things that show up. There's the paid listings, the map listings, and the organic listings. And this pay-per-click strategy had only focused on showing up in the paid listings. And again, statistics tell us that more than 70% of the population, when they search, go straight to the organic listings. They look right at the map listings and the non-paid listings. So you had to pay a lot for the click. You had to pay a lot to get them to the site. The website didn't convert well, and it wasn't showing up in the number one place people searched. So again, he still wasn't getting the real maximum lead flow via the web. And so finally, we were able to get in and implement a strategy that set him up with a website that was a lot more personality based, had pictures of him, pictures of his team, had all of the right elements that made him resonate with his customers so it would convert well, but then also optimized correctly so that it could rank on the non-paid listings in the map and organic section when someone typed in false church plumber, false church plumbing, false church emergency plumber, which of course resulted in him showing up in search more often. And with a website that converted well, he was able to generate more leads. And so just to kind of skip to the chase on this particular case study, he was able to move his traffic from the website from about 254 visitors to 733 visitors, which when you look at the call tracking data, shows us that he increased from 24 calls via the web to 88 calls via the web, which for him was actually a 3-time increase in leads and calls and in profitability for his company. Now, this was just by implementing organic SEO strategies. This didn't include any paid advertising, didn't include paid advertising on Angie's List or Yelp. And we'll talk about the impact that when you add the paid advertising to the equation, what that can happen on the bottom line. But for him, this 3-time increase in sales and in leads meant that he was able to keep his guys busy. He was able to continue to grow the company, and more importantly, feel confident that he had a sustainable asset that he could hand down to his daughter Tracy for the second generation to continue to go strong and to continue to be a successful company. And so what I want to do throughout the rest of this time that we have together is really unpack the strategy and talk about it in the specific way that you can apply it to your business. Because again, I don't want this to be one of those webinars where you sit through 45 minutes here with me, we ask a couple questions, and then you go back to your day and you say, oh, there was a couple good ideas and he made a couple good points, but nothing actionable. That's the worst possible thing I can imagine that could come out of this particular session. What I want is for you to be able to walk away from this session with a very clear picture of what you're doing right in your internet marketing strategy, what you're missing, and the next 3 things that you need to do today and tomorrow and the next day to have a huge impact and close out 2015 as effectively as possible. So with that said, you should have received this handout prior to the session. If you didn't already, you can go to plumberseo.net/handout. Just a simple 1-page worksheet that we're going to go through together throughout the remainder of this session. And take out a pen, take out a pencil, and as you go through it, check mark what you've got right, circle what you feel isn't right or things that you need to pay closer attention to, and that's going to be your plan of action. So hopefully everybody has that. If you don't, please post in the questions box, raise your hand. get with Janet and she can help make sure that you have it, or just go straight to plumberseo.net/handout. So let's dive in. The first thing on the worksheet, the first question it asks is, do you have a website? You guys are Nexstar members. You all have a website. So you can check that off, kind of give yourself a pat on the back. You're off to a great start. You certainly have a website. If you don't, you need to have one. The next question on the worksheet is, does your company show up in search? And when I talk about does it show up in search, again, what I'm referring to is, does it show up when someone types in your city AC repair, your city plumber, your city plumbing company in the organic listings? So not the pay-per-click listings, but the organic listings. And again, this is just a visual. The paid listings are on the top and along the sides. The map listings are below that. And that's what I'm really talking about, the map and the organic listings. And really, to answer this question correctly, it's not just does it show up for your city plumber, your city plumbing. Is it showing up in those organic listings for the keywords that your customers are typing in when they need your services? And so there's a lot of things that they're typing in. And I'm going to give an example for plumbing. I'm going to give an example for HVAC. If you're a plumbing company, you do a lot more than just plumbing. You do drain cleaning, you do bathroom remodeling, you do trenchless sewer replacement, you do backflow testing. And we've done a lot of research, again, working with hundreds of plumbing and HVAC companies, and have developed a list of the top 50 most searched plumbing keywords. And I've got them up on the screen. If you'd like to download this, you can go to plumberseo.net/plumbing keywords. Again, you'll just be able to download this list of keywords. But what I want you to do with this, or the HVAC keywords, right? They're not just typing in air conditioning, they're typing in train, they're typing in RUD, they're typing in AC repair, they're typing in heating repair, they're typing in duct cleaning, and all of the different services that you offer. So what I want you to do with this is take these keywords, combine it with the city or cities that you operate in, and either actually manually run the search, San Diego plumber, San Diego plumbing, San Diego emergency plumber, San Diego AC repair, and see if you're showing up on page 1 in the organic listings. If you're not, then the answer to that first question on our worksheet is, does your plumbing or HVAC company show up on page 1 for your most important keywords? And if it doesn't, then that means there's a huge opportunity from an organic perspective to be showing up for more keywords and to drive more traffic. Now, if you need some help running that research and figuring out where you rank, as a Nexstar member, you have access to a completely free evaluation from me personally, not from a sales rep, but from me, where I will look at your cities, I'll evaluate your services, and I'll run a report for you that shows you exactly where you rank right now on Google and Yahoo and Bing for your most important keywords. That way you can be confident on this first element. Are you ranking for your most important keywords? And if you're not, then some work needs to be done. If you are, then fantastic. You're probably getting a lot of business via the web, and it's time to look at some of the other online marketing channels that will work best for you. So again, to take us up on that offer to run the keyword list for you, you can just reach out to me via email. All of my contact information is in the members portal, or you can go to plumberseo.net. You'll find all our contact information there. So that's the first element, is really, do you show up on page 1 for your most important keywords? The next element is your website properly optimized? And this one's a little bit less obvious. Right? It's easy to go in and run a couple searches, but without having some knowledge of search engine optimization, it's hard to say whether you're properly optimized or not. So I just want to spend a couple minutes unpacking what optimization should look like for your plumbing or HVAC business. And there are volumes of training just on the topic of search engine optimization, and the algorithm's constantly changing. There's literally hundreds of variables, but I want to focus on the 80-20 principle, right? The 20% of things that you can impact on your website to affect where you rank in the search engines. And the main things are the title tag, the H1 tag, and the content on your website. And so that title tag, I've got an arrow pointing to the top bar on your site. That title tag really is one of the first things Google looks at to determine what your website should or should not be ranking for. So if it says Bill's Plumbing, if that's your company name, that's not really the best play, right? Better in your title would be something like San Diego Plumber hyphen Bill's Plumbing, or San Diego HVAC, or San Diego Heating Repair. Whatever your keyword is, you want that in the title, you want it in the H1, and more importantly now with the latest changes in the algorithm, you want great content. Not keyword stuffed content that repeats your keyword again and again, but content that really speaks to what's the service, what are the most frequently asked questions, and why should a company choose you versus the competition. If you can do those things, get your keyword into the title of the H1 and write great content for your homepage, and then for all of the subsequent pages on your site, you can have a much better ranking strategy. So the second thing, though, that I want to focus on from an SEO perspective and really answering that question is, are you properly optimized, is do you have enough content on your website? Do you have enough pages? I pulled up that report for you that showed the most commonly searched keywords, and I'll just talk plumbing specifically for the moment. Usually you're providing something like 20 different separate services. And if you want to rank for each one of those different services in your service area, you actually need a page for each one of those services. So a page for bathroom remodeling, a page for drain cleaning, a page for emergency plumbing, a page for boiler repair. That way, Google's got a placeholder with good, unique content that speaks to that particular keyword so that you can rank and search for it. So that's one of the things you want to look at is, do you have pages for each one of your services? And then do you have pages for each of the sub-cities in your service area? We find that most plumbing and HVAC and electrical companies serve between a 25 and 50-mile radius. If you want to rank in all the little sub-cities and sub-towns, and there's usually going to be at least 10 highly populated, highly searched sub-markets in any major city, you want to have pages for each one of those sub-cities and sub-towns. So in Falls Church and around Falls Church, there's Alexandria and McLean and Vienna and Fairfax and Centerville. If you want to rank in each one of those little sub-cities and towns, you need a page that is specifically targeting that city combined with your service. And a major caveat on this is the content on that page needs to be unique, right? You want to have the city in the title, you want to have the city in the H1, and then you want to make sure that the content isn't boilerplate. And this is one of the problems I'm seeing with a lot of plumbing and HVAC companies, is that they went down this path, they created the pages, but they just duplicated the content from city 1 to city 2 to city 3, and with the changes in the Google algorithm, that's created a problem. So you want to look at that and make sure that you're not playing a dangerous game by having duplicated content. You have to be a little creative and write some unique content. And so the real things that I want you to focus on in the worksheet here as you look at your website and work on your plan of attack is your keyword in the title tag and the H1 tag of your website. That's kind of easy and obvious. Do you have pages for each of your main services? Do you have pages for the main brands that you service? This is most prevalent in HVAC. So Train AC repair, Rudd AC repair, people will type in the brand and the unit that they have. Do you have unique content on all of your pages, both the city pages and the service pages? And are you helping Google understand what your true service area is by using something to really geo-modify all of your content? And so this is really a critical element, because if you're not ranking for your keywords, which we covered in the first step, then this is probably why. You probably don't have placeholders or content speaking to each of those keywords. And so by doing this, you're going to put yourself in the index or have the possibility of showing up on Google and Yahoo and Bing for those various keywords. So I know I said I wanted to stop in between each major block of content and see if there were any questions. A lot of times there's not, but just in case, I want to check in with you guys. Any questions on optimizing the website, building out the pages, and making sure that you're making it clear to Google what your website should be ranking for?
One question that did come up on the keywords, Josh, was that the HVACSEO.net/keywords is a 404.
Oh, okay. I will send an email out right after this. It might be an error in what I have typed in, and I'll get that over to you guys right away.
Okay, perfect. Does anyone else have any questions that you want to type in right now, or if you want to raise your hand, I can unmute you?
So if not, I'm just going to press forward because I know we have a little bit of...
I think we're good.
Okay, I'm going to press forward. So the next section and the next real major question on your worksheet is your website optimized for conversion? A lot of the internet marketing training that you have out there is just focused on SEO and pay-per-click and how you get ranked. Are you ranked? Are you ranked? But the fact is, you could be spending $20,000 a month in pay-per-click. You could be ranked on page 1 for just about every keyword. But if your website doesn't convert well and it doesn't compel someone to pick up the phone and make a phone call, you're going to be leaving a lot of money on the table. So in my opinion, focusing on conversion optimization is just as important, if not more important, than the SEO and the traffic generation piece of the strategy. And so just some elements to look at to kind of put your website through a filter and say, yes, this looks pretty well optimized for conversion, or no, it needs some improvement. A couple things. First, in the header on your website, you want to make sure that you have your phone number on every page. So the eye naturally gravitates to the top left-hand corner of the site. And so either in the top left-hand corner or the top right-hand corner, you want to have your phone number in an easy place where they can just dial the number. So that's simple, right? Simple stuff. I'm going to give you strategies that you can implement. Do you have a web form on your website where somebody can quickly type in their name, their email address, and their question so that they can just reach out to you right away and not have to jump through a bunch of hoops or not have to specifically pick up the phone and call? Simple. Are you leveraging personality? This is one of the things I see missed most often is using stock photography over excessively as opposed to authentic imagery. So real pictures of the owner, real pictures of the team, real pictures of the truck, real pictures of the office. That's what I call authenticity. Let them see who you are. Let them see what you're all about. Let them get to know, like, and trust you before they have to call you. And you'd be surprised, a lot of these judgments are made in an instant. And subconsciously, they know whether it's a stock photo and it feels generic or whether they're looking at a real picture of the real people. And we've split tested this on a number of our client sites. And the ones that have real authentic images and or videos of the owner and their team convert almost twice as well. So that's a huge, huge impact. And so if you're looking at your worksheet and you're saying, man, I just have stock photography on my website, go and make this one change. Invest in some pictures of your staff and your team, like a team shot, not individual shots. Go and invest in a video of the owner or spokesperson for your company, welcoming them to the website, explaining who you are and why they should choose you versus the competition, and you'll see an instant increase in the conversion rate on your website from visitor to caller. Leverage the trust factors. One of the main things your potential customers are thinking when they get to the site is, can I trust this company? Are they quality? Are they going to show up on time? Are they going to treat me fairly? Are they going to leave a mess, or are they going to leave things clean? And if you can connect to the trust symbols that they already recognize, BBB, Angie's List, Front Porch to some level, and you can put, look, we're Angie's List Super Service Award winners. Look, we've got all of these positive feedbacks on BBB. That's something that just makes it more comfortable for them to choose you versus the competition. And then in my opinion, the strongest conversion factor is social proof. Not what are you saying about yourself, but what are other companies saying? What are other users saying about you? What are other past customers saying? And so having a section on your website where people can see how many reviews that you have and be able to read those reviews and kind of sink in and say, wow, this is a quality company. Look what other people are saying about them on Yelp, on Angie's List, on Google, and make it easy for them to gain access to reviews that aren't just there, but they're authentic. And so authentic means it's tied back to an actual person with a picture. It's tied back to the source where the review was posted. When you get those things together, again, it really has a major impact on conversion. And there's lots of tools for this, right? There's Bird Eye, there's Review Buzz, which is a strategic partner, and it's a great platform for doing this. There's Nearby Now. There's a variety of tools. My bigger focus is make sure that you have some mechanism to showcase those positive reviews and all that positive feedback on your website. Because when you do, you're going to convert better. And the other one that you guys have all been beat over the head with 100 times is that your website has to be mobile friendly. There's just like there was a shift from yellow pages to the internet, now there's a shift from desktop to mobile. There's 4.8 billion people that now have mobile phones. 3 out of 5 consumers, when they're looking for plumbing and HVAC services, they're doing it from their mobile phone. As I look at my analytics reports for our clients, on average, 40% of the traffic is coming via mobile. Somewhere between 30 and 50%, but on average about 40%. So you have to make sure that you've got a mobile-enabled version of your site that makes it extremely easy for the customer to click a button and call your office, and for them not to have to pinch the screen and scroll around. Google reports on one of their recent studies that 40% of mobile consumers will turn to a competitor's site after a bad mobile web experience. So this is a huge thing for you. If you're looking at your worksheet right now and you know that your website isn't mobile optimized, then you want to circle it, you want to put a star next to it, you want to go back right away and get that issue resolved and make sure that you make it easy. Because 40% of your customers are going to leave if they can't get what they need. And so again, don't have to overthink it. Just make sure that it fits within the framework of a mobile phone so they can quickly scroll up and scroll down and not have to pinch the screen. And by all means, make sure that they can push a button on your site and call so they don't have to write down the number and rekey it into their phone. That's like the worst possible outcome. Somebody gets to your mobile site, they want to call you, but there's not a click to call button. Major problem. So again, probably 100 other things you can do to increase conversion on your site, but focusing on the 80-20, do you have the phone number in the top right-hand corner in the header on every page? Are you using authentic images and video? Video is huge, guys. I mean, you guys have the ability to create high-quality video for your website to welcome the customer, to talk about just about any of your services. That will have a huge impact on conversion. Do you have a call to action under each block of text? Next step, call us here, click here to schedule an appointment. And is your website mobile friendly? So not a lot of people spend a lot of time focusing on conversion optimization. There might be some really easy opportunities for you in this particular area. If so, circle it, right? I want you guys to be able to step away from this with some real clear next steps. So hopefully this is opening up some opportunity for you and making it clear where there's room for improvement. The next section on our worksheet is all about building authority and links. And so what we talked about up to this point was building out your website, making sure you have pages for each of your services, pages for each of your cities. I talked about how doing that gives you more placeholders in search to show up better in organic listings. That doesn't mean you're going to be ranking on page 1 for those keywords, right? Just because you have a drain cleaning page and an emergency plumbing page and a furnace repair page doesn't necessarily mean you're going to rank on page 1. It just means because you have the content and it's properly optimized, you have an index or a placeholder somewhere in Google search. The thing that's going to move you from page 6 to page 1 is how authoritative your website and those pages are in Google's index. And so this is, again, one of those things that's constantly changing and constantly shifting. But at the end of the day, he who has the most quality, relevant inbound links tends to be the companies that rank best. Now, the algorithmic change with the link penalties, it's really shifted from quantity to quality. Because it used to be you could just have more links than the competition and you would outrank them. Today, it's really more about having more relevant links. Links that are relevant to your area, links that are relevant to home services, links that are relevant to plumbing and or HVAC and or electrical. That is what Google's going to award and give you better rankings for. So just a couple quick insights, easy links that you can get. This is such an abstract concept, But if you think about it, you're a member of certain organizations, PHCC, Nexstar, the local Chamber of Commerce. Most of those places have websites where they list their members. That's a great link that you can get to your homepage and to some of the sub-city pages on your website. The companies that are in your area that are non-competitive. So I know most of you are full-service companies, but let's say the damage restoration company that you deal with, that's big and authoritative in your area, you could say, hey, if you've got a damage restoration issue, this is the company we refer. And now you've got a link to them, and they could do the same and say, hey, if you've got a plumbing problem, this is the company we tend to work with, and have a link back to you. It's almost like borderline a link exchange, but when done in this way where it's an authentic local company that you actually exchange business with, that's got a good presence, that can be a really effective strategy for building up your authority. The social media profiles that you're a part of, the groups that you buy from, other people's blog posts or other people's blogs where you can write content, being in all of the major online directories like CitySearch and Angie's List and Yelp and Front Porch. What you want to do with your link building strategy is make sure that you're in all of these places and that you're building links not just to your homepage, but to the sub-city pages and to the sub-service pages. And when you do that in conjunction with what we talked about earlier, you can really start to rank on page 1 for the majority of your most important keywords. And so the question here is, do you have somebody in your team that is consistently building new content and building links back to your website? Content is just putting out relevant information. The differences between tanked and tankless water heaters. Why somebody should consider a high efficiency air conditioning system versus a not high efficiency system, and why they should spend that additional investment. When you write that kind of relevant content, you become the authoritative provider. And when you're the authoritative provider, whether you post that on your website, whether you post it on the local newspaper or on some other authoritative website, then you can start to be the company that deserves to rank well in search. And so you want to make sure that you're building links and that you're building authority. And so really the question is, do you have somebody in your team that's managing this, that's responsible for this? Are they putting out new content on your website and on the third-party channels on your behalf? Are they blogging? Are they finding new links that you can get back to your homepage and back to the various pages on your site? And if not, this is a huge opportunity. Most of you have really good websites. Most of you have got pages for your services, but you might not be doing enough quality link building, right? There's all kinds of low quality solutions out there where you can go on Fiverr and buy 1,000 links. But with the latest changes in the Google algorithm, those links actually hurt you more than they help you. So making sure that you have someone that's thinking about this from a strategic perspective and are getting relevant links is what you need to do. So make sure that you're paying very close attention to this, because to this point in the presentation, I think a lot of this has been repeat information for you guys. Nexstar members, you guys have websites. You've invested in SEO. You've got great conversion elements on your site, but you have to be strategically building your authority, and this is one of the keys. So for you guys, I think this is one you're going to really want to put a star next to, highlight it with a highlighter, and kind of go get with your team and strategize. How can we get more consistent with this? How can we build our authority? The next piece is all about Google Maps.
Can I ask a question?
Absolutely.
Okay. This is from Frank Gossett.
Okay.
Does the contractor have the capacity to edit or generate page in-house, or do we have to send changes to you?
So, you can, obviously a contractor can, so you guys, depending upon who you're working with, you should own your website, you should own your content. It should be something that's in your control. Now, if you want to go in and add blog content or update your website in any way or add pages, you should have the ability to do that. If you're working with us as your strategic partner and we're handling this on your behalf, then our team will be writing the content, our team will be updating the blog, our team will be running with the ball. But to the extent that you want to add content on your own, either directly on the website or by sending it to us and say, hey, please create this section on the site, then you should be able to do that. And you'll definitely be able to do that with us.
Okay, here's another question from Jessica Feldman. Where do we find the inbound links besides social and directory?
Yeah, so that's really what I was talking about over here. There's a lot of low-hanging fruit. There's another strategy that I didn't talk about here, but it's called competitive link acquisition. And there's tools like Ahref and Majestic SEO, where the best way to build links is to look at the companies that are ranking in your city. So if you're in Dallas and you type in Dallas plumber, there's going to be all of the companies ranked on page 1. And the reason they're there is because they have a good website with good content, they're properly optimized, and they've got more links and more authority than the other pages on the internet. So you can use a tool like Ahrefs to type in their website address, and it will give you a report that says, okay, these are all of the links that this particular company has. Competitive link acquisition is then looking at those sites that are linking to them and figuring out how to get those same or similar links to your website. So if it was in the Wall Street Journal, maybe you can produce an article and get it to link from the Wall Street Journal to you. If it was on some online directory, then you want to make sure that your company's on that online directory. And you do that for all of the competitors for the keywords you want to rank for, and you'd be amazed at the results you can get through that specific strategy.
Okay, here's another question from Amy White. How often would you suggest that we blog?
I think that a blog should be updated at least once a week. That way you're putting out fresh, relevant content. You could do it more, you could do it less. My suggestion is once a week.
Okay. All right, here's another question from Alex Reeves. Is creating video for YouTube building content?
It absolutely is. And one of my favorite strategies is in the early phase of leveraging YouTube is to think of all your services, drain cleaning, emergency plumbing, or if you're HVAC, AC repair, AC installation, and create a simple video talking about each of those services. You take that and you put it on YouTube and you link from that video back to the home page or to the specific service page on the site. Then you take that video and you transcribe it into text, which you can upload as a blog post. And so you start there and then you move to Q&As. What are the most frequent questions that your customers are asking you when you're in the field? And then create videos answering those. And so absolutely, video is a great way to create content. And different people produce in different ways. Not everyone likes to write. Not everyone wants to be on camera. So try and figure out the modality that's most comfortable for you.
Okay, here's another question from Magda Fleischer. If we use our team in our promotional photos, are there any legalities that we have to have our staff sign?
You know, in the perfect world, you would all have them all sign a release. You'd have them sign a media release, both for the picture and for the video. I haven't personally, I'm not an attorney, so I'm not going to advise you. I haven't seen any issues other than maybe a past employee writing in, hey, please remove my picture from the site, in which case you should probably take it down. But if you have that media release, it becomes a non-issue.
Okay. Here's another question. For follow-up, how long would you say is a good length for a blog?
I think that you want to be at least 350 to 700 words is really a good length for a blog. We're finding that longer form blog posts work really well. So going really deep on a topic, 1,500 words can be extremely effective. But somewhere between that 300 and 500 words is typically what we would write in a blog post.
Okay. And one other question. When blogging, do you have to blog 100% about your industry?
No, you really don't. And it's probably advisable not to. You just like with social media, which we're going to talk about in a minute, you want to mix it up. You want to talk a little bit about what you do. You want to answer frequently asked questions. But you also want to blog about what's happening in the local community, as long as it ties to that local community and it makes sense. You can write about the local sports team, like if you're in Kansas City, talk about the Kansas City Royals and how well they're doing and somehow tie that back to your company. That's going to be more consumed and more interesting than if you just talk about high efficiency ACs and what to do in the event of a clogged drain and things like that.
Okay, here's another question. We're redesigning our website. Is there any way to stop us from losing ground with SEO when we relaunch?
There absolutely is. So whenever you're redesigning the website, you're going to have certain pages that are ranking in search, right? And so each one of those pages is a separate URL. So yourcompany.com/home, yourcompany.com/about-us, yourcompany.com/drain cleaning. The key is you want to either match those URLs so that they're the same in the redesign, or at a minimum redirect, like let's say the About Us page, or let's say the drain cleaning page, to whatever the new drain cleaning page is through a redirect. So as long as you do that and you make sure that the titles are, at least along the same lines, and you still have some good content on the pages, you should be fine with the relaunch of the site.
All right. I think that's it for right now.
Excellent. Great questions, guys. I appreciate that, and I'm glad to get the interactions. That's really what we want to do here. So the next step in this process is making sure you're ranking well on the Google Map. And there's a little bit of a mystery around the Google Map, but it's not that complicated. There are 3 elements that drive your rankings in the Google Map. The first is having a claimed Google My Business listing, and that's just controlled at google.com/mybusiness. And you probably have had somebody do this for you, or you have someone in your team that's done it. The only thing I'll encourage here is just gain access to your Google username and password so that worst case scenario, you can get in. This is probably the number one online place that people are looking to engage with your company. So you want to have access to that. Don't let a third party tell you, oh no, you can't have the username and password. Make sure you gain access to that and double check the settings to make sure that it's optimized correctly. And there's a lot of little steps, probably more than I can cover on today's session because we're almost up on time. But there's a lot of steps, so make sure you've got it properly optimized. Make sure that you've got lots of citations of your company's name, address, and phone number. So that's being in all of the major online directories. Google looks at that. Remember, there's only 3 people showing up on Google Maps right now. And in order to determine who should be in the top 3, Google looks at, are they claimed on Google? Do they have lots of references? So are they on Angie's List and City Search and Axiom and eLocalPlumber and Local.com and all of these different sites? So you want to make sure you've got those with the same name, address, and phone number across the web. And then having reviews. The only thing that Google can do to figure out who should be the strongest player is who's got the most citations and who's got the most online reviews. And so authenticity here is essential. You want real reviews from your real customers in your real service area. So if you've got more reviews and you've got more citations, you can typically win the day in terms of ranking on the map in your city. So you want to make sure along these lines that you have some type of systematic process in place to request and get reviews from your real customers on Google, on Yelp, on the public online review sites. And again, there's lots of tools that do this. I talked about Review Buzz, Nearby Now, Customer Lobby. At the end of the day, you just want to make sure that an email is going out after every service call, thanking the customer for their business, asking them to take a couple minutes to write a review, and then providing them a direct link to the places where they can do that. And don't ever try and drive them down a central path. So if you're just trying to tell them, write me a review on Google, you're going to lose most of the people because not everyone has a Google account. Or if you're trying to tell them that they have to write you a review on Yelp, not all of them are going to do it, and a lot of the reviews are going to get filtered. So in that email that you send, have a link to Google, have a link to Yelp, have a link to Angie's List, and let people gravitate to the online review profile that's most comfortable for them. And if you do those 3 things and you have a true location in the city that you want to operate in, you can rank on page 1 in the Google map in those top 3 listings. And I can show you literally hundreds of clients that we've been able to get in the top 3 listings in their city by following this process and just doing it correctly. And where this gets most messed up is in the consistency of the name, address, phone number. So people will have lots of citations, but they'll have a different number in Angie's List and a different number on City Search and a different number on Local.com. And every time that there's fragmentation or inconsistency of that name, address, phone number, the probability of being the dominant ranking company in that market declines. So making sure that you've got clear understanding of what your name, address, phone number profile is, and that you've got it listed that way across the web, is critically important for ranking well in the Google Map listings. And again, if you do that, you'll be well on your way to a page 1 listing in the Google Maps in your market. So the next is really about social media. And are you active with Facebook, Twitter, Google+, LinkedIn? As I talk to most plumbing and HVAC companies about social media, kind of get a blank stare, how does this apply to me getting more leads or more calls? And what I find is, if you just think of it from this guise, it can be most effective. Right now, what is the number one source of leads and new business in your company? And in most cases, you're going to say it's repeat and referral business. It's your past customers using you again and referring you to their friends. And so if you can leverage social media correctly, you can take your repeat and referral business to the next level. And the reason I say that is the average Facebook user has 135 friends and is checking in between 6 to 9 times per day. So if you can get your real customer, not phantom people out there in cyberspace, but your real customer to press the like button, by virtue of that like, their friends, those 135 people that are their closest sphere of influence, are going to see that you like them. And then by liking your page, they've given you permission to remain top of mind. They're checking in between 6 to 9 times per day. So if you're putting out a consistent update on social media, let's say 3 to 5 times per week, they're being exposed to your brand again and again and again. Now, not in an annoying way, but in a social way, it's great because they're seeing you again and they're going to be more apt to refer you and to remember you the next time they need your services. So you want to make sure that you're not just set up on Facebook, Twitter, Google+, LinkedIn, and YouTube, but that you're updating on a consistent basis. And again, I recommend somewhere between 3 and 5 times per day. I used to say do it every day, but then with the latest changes in EdgeRank, a lot of times if you're posting too much, you're going to get lost and Google's going to have your EdgeRank extremely low. So people won't even see it. So you want to make sure you're thinking strategically, that you're kind of scheduling your posts out at different times throughout the day, and you're getting people that are actually looking at it and liking it and commenting on it. Otherwise, it can be in vain at some level. So the question there, are you on those profiles? Do you have somebody posting those updates? Are you doing that on a consistent basis? And then are you using email marketing? Right? Email marketing is extremely powerful. And I'm not talking about just using Outlook to send out emails. We're talking about having a system like Constant Contact or MailChimp where you've got the names and emails of your customers and you're sending a proactive email at least once a month. And a great example of this is Daniel Cordova Plumbing. He's a fellow Nexstar member, and he grew his business very quickly over a 3-year window. And one of the keys to his success was being really proactive at collecting the names and emails of his customers and sending out a personality-based email newsletter on a monthly basis. And he said that was one of the keys to get him to the high level of growth that he had. And so don't overthink this. You can use a simple tool like Constant Contact or MailChimp. Those are the most popular ones. And just make sure that you're getting the names and emails of your customers and you're sending out an email blast at least once a month that's very informational. Hey, here's what's going on with their company, a picture of the owner answering some simple questions. Where do you go? What are you up to this weekend? What is your favorite restaurant in the area? Things like that, like real personality-based information, not just here's 10% off your next plumbing service or your next HVAC service. So are you leveraging email? I know that you guys have all thought about this, but do you have the database and are you sending out an email blast at least once a month to remain top of mind with your customers? And so everything we've talked about to this point is very foundational. You'll notice all of it is actually free advertising. SEO, Google Maps optimization, building out your website, using social media and email marketing, all of that is just getting your foundation correct. And the reason I say, is your foundation strong? Because I feel like you should always have all of those elements in place before you start to roll out paid online marketing. So if you look at the pyramid that I have on the screen, it goes from organic all the way up to pay-per-click. And I feel like the foundation, when built correctly, A good website with strong messaging, good personality, good online marketing reputation is going to make everything else you do work better. And so you really shouldn't be doing excessive paid advertising until you've got that foundation in place and until that foundation is strong. And what I find with so many plumbing and HVAC businesses is that they have this pyramid inverted. They're very heavily invested in pay-per-click advertising. They're really heavily invested in pay-per-lead services and online directories, but they don't have the foundation in place, and they're frustrated because they're not getting a lot of quality leads and their cost per lead is so high. And so what I like to encourage is make sure that you have your pyramid correct and you've got a strong foundation. And once you have that in place, then start to layer on paid advertising. And so are you taking advantage of paid online marketing opportunities? And there's some great paid online marketing opportunities. I feel like part of every online marketing strategy over time should be pay-per-click advertising on AdWords and Bing search. I feel like Angie's List and YP.com and Yelp.com, despite the fact that they get a bad rap in a lot of cases, all of them, in my opinion, for the amount of money you spend, have a very nice return on investment if they're done correctly. And you should be in those places because you want to dominate and be the dominant presence in your market. And most pay-per-click advertising campaigns fail. I talk with a lot of people. They say it just didn't work out right. I could speak for an hour on the topic of pay-per-click advertising, just about out of time. Maybe we'll do a separate webinar just on this particular topic. But the reason most pay-per-click campaigns fail is because they're not set up in a way to maximize the auction process and the quality score elements of Google AdWords. And so really the right way to do it is make sure that for each of your service areas, right? If you do plumbing, you do emergency, you do drain cleaning, there's different keywords that go along with each of those different categories of service. And so you should have a different ad group for each. And with an ad group, that means you've got a different text ad that speaks to that group of services. You've got a specific landing page that talks to that specific service and a strong, compelling call to action on that page. So the right way to do it, just in one simple example, is for your drain cleaning, you want the text ad to be speaking to have a clogged drain, we're the drain experts. And then land them on not the home page, but the drain cleaning page. Have a clogged drain in the Dallas market, we're the experts. Click here to schedule an appointment or call us today. Here's a special offer to take incentive to take action now. And if you can do that for each of your ad groups in distinct areas of service, you can actually have a lower cost per click while still maintaining the top positioning and have a much better conversion rate from visitor to caller. And so in as short a period of time as possible, that's the key to getting the most ROI from your online marketing. And ideally, if you're going to dominate your market and you're going to be the dominant presence, you need to be tapping into all of these different paid online marketing channels. And if you aren't, it's time to start to explore them. If you are you doing them correctly? Do you have specific ad groups for each of your distinct areas of service? And just going back to our example of the plumbing doctor, I said that they went from 200 visitors to 800 plus visitors, and that was mostly organically based. Once we started to layer on some of these paid channels, like advertising on Angie's List and pay-per-click advertising, they were able to go from 712 visitors to over 1,000 visitors, which equated to 72 calls all the way to 213 calls. And if we just look at the numbers, that's back October 2011, about 24 calls, 2014, 213 calls. That's actually a 10-time increase in sales, in leads, in profitability, just by executing each of the things we've covered in this webinar. And so if you've been working through the worksheet with me, you have the plan, you have the blueprint, and now you just need to really execute and implement those effectively within your business. And make sure that you have the right tracking mechanisms in place. And for me, right tracking is Google Analytics, so you can see how many people are getting to the website. Keyword tracking, which will just show you where you rank on a consistent basis for your most important keywords and make sure you're moving forward. And call tracking of some sort so that you can hear recordings of your conversation so that you can quantify the true return on investment. And that really brings us to the close of our worksheet, which is, do you have that tracking in place. And if not, this might be the main thing that you need to do next, because if you don't have the proper tracking, you could be overspending in your pay-per-click advertising. You could be overspending with your SEO. And so you have to have the right tracking so that you can scale your internet marketing as effectively as possible. And so, really, that's our worksheet. Hopefully, you've been able to really fill this out, find some areas for opportunity, have a clear plan of action of maybe 2 or 3 very specific things that you want to go back and check out. And ultimately, you want to have a dominant online marketing presence that looks something like this. And this is what we call our digital dominance method. And it really covers the foundation of getting the website right, ranking well in organic search, then leveraging pay-per-click advertising and retargeting to really get more exposure and get more people back to the website once they get there. Make sure that you're aggressive in the paid online directories, Yelp, YP, Angie's List, House, Porch, and other new ones that are going to crop up. Make sure that you're leveraging email marketing and social media to drive more repeat and referral business. Possibly leverage tools like Home Advisor and eLocal Plumber as a strategy to augment your lead flow when things are slow. Start to look at paid Facebook advertising and YouTube advertising. Believe it or not, you can demographically target the homeowners in an area that make a certain income with a very specific offer and get a great return on investment. And then leveraging some type of referral program to drive even more repeat and referral business. And what I found is that when you can get to the place where you're confidently doing 7 to 8 of these items, you can really be dominant in your area. And that's when you start to maximize your lead flow and maximize your profitability. Jan, I know I'm pushing up against my time. Were there any questions specifically before I wrap up? And is it okay if I go a couple minutes longer?
Yeah, absolutely. We do have about maybe 6 more questions that have come up.
Okay.
Some of them are relating, going back to when you were talking about the website. Is it okay now for questions?
Perfect. Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. Our Google AdWords campaign points to a completely separate domain with a different website. Does that hurt SEO for the main domain significantly?
It doesn't. It's not going to hurt. I don't think it's actually going to hurt the authority. It probably was put up in place that way in order to improve the tracking, which is great. Ideally, you'd want to try and have all of that on your primary domain. That way you can make sure that what you're doing from an SEO perspective is dovetailing nicely to your AdWords campaign. But if you're asking whether it will hurt or not, no, it won't. It might be more effective in the long term to really have it all centralized and pointing to your primary domain with your primary content pages.
Okay. Next question. In a 50-mile radius, how can you show up in other cities other than the city your business is located in?
So the best way to do that is to have city-specific pages on your website. So if you're talking about a 50-mile radius, and let's just say there are 50 cities in that particular radius, then you want a service area section on your website that lists the cities that you are targeting, and each one of those pages needs to have unique content. It needs to have, ideally, there's a tool called Nearby Now where your technicians can check in and the GPS coordinates from that check-in can pass content to that page. And then once you've got those pages, you need to build links and authority back to those pages so that they can move up in search online. And so that's the best way. A challenge if you're talking about ranking on the Google Maps, then you're only really going to rank on the maps in this place where you have a physical presence. So if you want to rank in more areas, there's a whole location-based strategy that you can roll out, but it has to be done correct. You can't just create like a UPS store address or a virtual office. You need to go out and rent a physical place, and then you need to build citations for that physical location, and you need to have reviews for that physical location. So it can be done. It's quite a bit more complicated when you want to rank on maps in multiple markets, but I find that the city-specific strategy from an SEO perspective really works pretty well.
Okay, and then I have a question from Cassandra Henderson. So Cassandra, I just unmuted you if you want to go ahead and ask Josh.
Cassandra, you still there?
Hi. Yeah, sorry about that.
No.
If we have our website completely redone from scratch, do you recommend us using that same company to SEO it, or does it not matter if we choose a different company or yourself?
It doesn't really matter as long as the website was set up, design-wise correctly in a place where you can modify the title tags, the H1 tags, the content. You can add additional service for each of the services. You can add pages for each of the cities. Then you could certainly have it built, and in a lot of cases, there's going to be a design company that will design a site, but really doesn't have the expertise in content development and an SEO. So it could be carved out in that way.
Okay. Thank you.
Good question. Thank you.
Okay. Next question. What if we have different numbers to do this for tracking purposes?
Yeah. And I know it's a best practice, and you want to be able to track what the ROI is back to the lead source. And so using a tracking number, for instance, for Angie's List ads, I can see the desire to do that, but I can also see, just based on experience, how doing that can be detrimental to your rankings in the Google Maps. So what I like to say is have one centralized number that you use, and it can be a tracking number, but that's the number you use for all of your directories, Google, Yelp, Angie's List, City Search, and then use some kind of call swapping, and there are great tools for call swapping, so that when somebody gets to the website via organic search, they're presented with a tracking number. If they get to the website via paid search, they're presented with a pay-per-click tracking number. And by doing it that way, you can keep consistency of your name, address, phone number for ranking purposes, but at the same time, be able to hear recordings and quantify your ROI.
Okay, and then Josh, do you have a social dashboard that you recommend?
There are great ones. The tool I like for social media monitoring and tracking is Hootsuite. Makes it really easy to have all your profiles in there, see what people are saying, schedule out your posts. Again, there's lots of tools that do this, but that's my preferred tool.
Okay. And does your company provide call tracking?
We do. So as part of our program and our services, we would encourage and include call tracking. I know some of you might already have Call Source or some other system in place, in which case we'll work with your existing call tracking. But yes, it would be something we would love to include in our program.
Okay. Next question. We have different phone numbers for different marketing sources. These are tracked and recorded. Is this hurting our SEO?
Depends upon where you have it. So if you have a different number on your truck and a different number on your print ad, then that's fine. If you've got a different number on Yelp and then a different one on Angie's List, that could be hurting your rankings in the Google Map because you're creating inconsistency of your name, address, phone number profile, which is one of the main things Google looks at to determine, who the authority companies are. So it very well could be hurting your rankings by having those tracking numbers if you're doing it in that way.
Okay. And Jessica Feldman recommends Sprout Social as a good social dashboard.
Yeah, it is. It's another great tool.
Okay. Here's a question from Hannah Barney. Our website is just now a year old. It was created using a brand new domain apart from our old one before I was at this company. For obvious reasons, we have had to rebuild our authority over the past year using lots of content marketing effort, but still having problems ranking up against our competitors with longer domain recognition. Is there anything I can do besides quality link building to help improve this in the meantime?
Unfortunately, not really. I mean, the best thing is to make sure that domain has links from quality sources. It's in all of the major online directories. You're getting links. You're getting reviews that are associated with your company profile. It's always going to slow things down if you create a new domain. And so the preference, just for everyone else, always try and use your most seasoned, your most authentic domain. Don't try and jump to a new domain unless you have to because you've been penalized. Don't try and get a keyword-rich domain like San Diego AC Repair as opposed to your actual company name domain. So, I mean, I would say keep doing what you're doing. If you're creating good links, eventually the domain will catch up.
Okay. I think that is it with questions. Anything else, Josh?
Yeah, I guess the only other thing I was going to say is if you want some help, you've been through the worksheet, you've got a clear plan of action, you've got some clear things that probably need to be improved. This is what we do. The next step, assuming you'd like some help, is part of your Nexstar membership. We will do a free assessment with you, me personally, where I'll look at your services, I'll develop your keyword list, I'll run a report to see exactly where you rank right now. I'll review your website from a conversion perspective and help you figure out where there's room for improvement. And I'll recommend the next course of action. And when you do that, I'll send you a free copy of our book, How to Triple Your Sales by Getting Your Internet Marketing Right. I will say we only work with one company in each major market, so we don't work with competing companies. Unfortunately, sometimes that might be an issue. But if you're interested and you'd like our help, I would encourage you to move quickly because, again, it's either going to be you or potentially one of your competitors working with us in your area. So if you'd like to schedule that strategy session, you can just go to plumberseo.net/schedule. That's plumberseo.net/schedule. Or you can call our office at 866-610-4647 and talk with Linda. She's my executive assistant, and we'll coordinate a time where you'll be able to have that strategy session with me personally.
All right. Well, thank you, Josh. Really appreciate all the interaction with our members. Anybody that wants to get a hold of them, go ahead and call or email them. And thank you, Nexstar members, for joining us today. We'll talk to you later. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, guys.